Hello, people of the internet and internet community. I am at the lake. You can see I thought I would put a nice background in just for extra enjoyment. So you might hear car sounds. Obviously, you can hear birds, and occasionally you might hear somebody walking by. So I was holding this space today and thinking, what should I talk about? Because a lot of the things that I have to talk about have layers and layers underneath of those topic matters, and I have to go off about 8 ways to bring in information. And I was thinking, okay, what's underneath a lot of this, and what would be helpful in these times? And so what I was contemplating was false power dynamics. And I think that would be good for us to talk about because it has to do with the idea of fear. And what I've figured out in my work is that fear isn't what we think it is. And so what the God source told me about fear is that it is when we give our power to something else. And so if I fear a spider, I'm giving my power to the spider. If I fear dark spaces, I'm giving my power to the dark space. And how dynamics work is that if I give my power to the other thing, like the spider or the dark space, then naturally it's going to be in the power position and I'm going to be in the position of weakness. And when we're in a position of weakness, this is where we begin to feel fear and like we're out of control. And that's a dynamical way of existing that we've been taught, I think our whole lifetimes, where they talk about, don't give your power away, don't give it to the other person, or don't let them take your power. And like with children and parents, oftentimes, it's the mother needs to be in power, or at work, the boss would be the one with the power. And the God source said that's not true. Those are false power dynamics. In reality, we each have our own power. And if I get locked in a dynamic, like I'm saying, one's a power figure and one's weak. And the idea is that neither of us have to be in power and neither of us have to be weak. That we can, in reality, hold our own space, hold our own power, and not get into a dynamic of power struggle when the reality is there is no struggle. There's only a struggle when we're playing this game of back and forthness where we're giving it to someone else and then fearing that person. So a dynamic will arise at work. If it's my boss, I'm going to be fearing my boss and they're in power, and then I'm going to be in the weakness, and then it's going to create this false power dynamic. And the reality is that if I realize that nobody gets to take my power, that's not something you give away. That's something that actually in this time period, we're needing to take our power back, as in being able to hold our own power. And there's a lot of power programs that are running in the human collective at this time that we're going to have to collapse in order to take our power back inside of ourselves. And what the God source told me about power is that power isn't what you think it is, Lisa. And I thought it was this thing that we had dynamically that we struggled over. And the God source said, no, Lisa, power is the ability to move forward freely. So having your power means that you have the ability to move forward. You have the ability to make choices. You have the ability to feel safe inside of yourself and the right to make choices from your core of yourself, or your center of self or your truth. So it's the ability to make choices from your truth. And if you're giving your power to others, which we've been taught in this world, we've been taught to give our power to others, and that others should be making those choices for us, or others have more skill or intelligence or a better ability to make the choices, and so they should be in power. And those are lies. Those are illusions and delusions of what I call the slavery matrix. And I recognize that I haven't done a video on the slavery matrix yet, which I for sure will. And the slavery matrix is a terminology that I use, and I've been using that terminology for probably 7 years now. And the slavery matrix is the system that we function within. And the reason I call it a slavery matrix is because of these false power dynamics. And so within this slavery matrix, someone's a slaver and someone's a slave. And really, in reality, no one is free. And the key is for us to free ourselves. And to free yourself means letting go of power and control that doesn't belong to us. And it means taking back your power that does belong to you, your ability to move forward freely. And if you think of like a car or like horsepower, it's the ability of the horse to move. How much can the horse pull? And that's what we're talking about. Or like a car is a V6, right? It's got the power to move. And that's what we're talking about inside the human being as well. Our power is our ability to move, our ability to make choices, our ability to move forward freely. And if I'm giving my power to the spider, then I'm not able to take action. I'm not able to move. I'm saying the spider has my power. And so I feel weak and scared and frozen. And the key is to be able to recognize, wait a minute, I'm giving my power to this spider instead of holding my own power. And then when I hold my own power, I use those techniques that I talked about in the other video. I begin to love myself even here. I'm safe even here. It's okay that I'm scared of a spider. And fear and scared are different. Fear's when I'm giving my power to the thing, and scared is a natural human emotion. All humans feel scared at some points in time. And it's okay to feel scared. It's okay to feel scared of a spider, but I still need to be in my own power and my ability to walk away, my ability to soothe and love myself even there, my ability to go get a jar and put the spider in a jar and throw him outside, which is actually in alignment with the universe. It's a good way of existing when we have that respect of nature. And the spider has a right to exist. But you have a right to a safe environment. And so if that spider's existing in your environment, you have a right to alchemize yourself, soothe yourself, love yourself, give yourself calm, breathe into that fear. Because fear causes fear, panic, and terror. And that literally is you giving your power to the other thing. And in this world at this time period, there's a lot of people that are even afraid to go outside. They're afraid to go out into the world. And that's because they're giving their power to the external realm. They're giving it to the world. And they're saying the world is not safe. And I'm giving my power to the world. And I feel weak in the dynamic in regards to the world. And the reality is that the world isn't safe. You're not wrong about that. That's actually a truth. Things happen here. Chaos happens here. The world unfolds in all kinds of ways. But I'm safe in all experiences because safety comes from inside of me. If I'm waiting for the world to stop or for the world to get safe, it's never going to happen. I'm going to stay in fear that whole time, because in the dynamic, I'm giving it away to the other. And so what we're doing is collapsing dynamics. And even in regards to our children, we think like the mother has to be in power, the father has to be in power. And the reality is that's not even true. That's another dynamic. It's another false power dynamic. And the reality is that you need to be in regulation. And when you're in regulation, when you're loving yourself into wholeness, when you're in that space of safety, then you're able to make choices from your center of self. You're able to make wise, aligned choices from your truth. And because you're the adult, you are going to be able to make wise choices from your truth that children can understand. But if you try to get into a power dynamic of a child, they're either going to feel weakness, and then they're going to feel like they're incapable and they're incompetent, or they're going to feel like they need to rebel, and they're going to try to take the power, and then you're going to get into power dynamics of tantruming and not listening and those kinds of things, and they're actually taking the power from you. And some parents in that case, they feel weak. They feel scared of their own children. They have fear of their own children. And the reality is, the reason they fear them is because they're giving their power to them. And the reason why most parents get into that situation is because they're dysregulating. They have dysregulation inside themselves, usually from trauma, childhood trauma, or not learning the skills or the ability, or being dominated a lot by their parental system. And the slavery matrix teaches domination and control over weak people. So it's built off a power dynamic. And literally, the slavery matrix, it's in the shape of a triangle. So the at the top of the triangle is white man. Underneath of that is colored men. Underneath of that is white women. Underneath of that is colored women. And that's the way the slavery matrix works. And they teach us that the safety's at the top of the triangle. So they teach you that if you want to be safe, you need to have a man, and particularly a white man. And that's not true. Those are illusions and delusions. And in reality, a lot of women that try to solidify safety through a man are oftentimes in the most danger and have the most trauma and are sacrificing their own existence for the other. And the key of collapsing power dynamics, the whole point of collapsing a power dynamic and taking your power back into yourself and saying, no one has control over me, I have control over myself. I need to learn to make my own choices from my own soul, from my own center of self, from my own truth. And that doesn't mean that partners can't come together and problem solve together, or come to a middle place of decision making. They can do that as well. But each individual has their own path. They have their own truth. They have their own lessons. They have their own internal guidance that's going to try to help them to follow their path based off of what they came in here to do. So different people come in here to do different things, and each of us has a unique purpose, and the purpose is important. Getting into an alignment with our own power allows us to make choices based off our own truth and allows us to follow our purpose. And in this world at this time, there's a lot of people not following their purpose. We're just following fear programming. We're following toxic dynamics. and false fear dynamics. And we're giving away our power to others, and we're waiting for the others to save us. We're waiting for the others to make the choice. We're waiting for the others to make us safe. And it's never going to come from there. It's never going to come from outside of you. The reality is, because we do all have our own journey and our own pathway and our own truth, that it was always going to be us that gives each of us love and safety inside of our core. And when we give ourselves that love and safety first, regulate our own self first, then we can begin to come together in co-decision making, from that space of each of us having our own truth, and that's normal on the earth plane. That's the way we were built. That's the way we were meant to exist. And it's the same with our children. So our children are on their own journey. They have their own purpose. They have their own lessons. And we were created to be that way. And so we're really just here to hold loving space for our children. We're here to discover ourselves and hold that space for our children to discover themselves. We're here to support each other. And we're here to guide our children with our wisdom of our own existence. But we're not here to control one another. And false power systems are about control. They're about trying to control the other so that you can feel safe, and or letting someone else control you so that you can feel safe. And the reality is, that's a false control. That's a false safety. True safety comes when you give it to yourself, when you soothe your own self, when you comfort your own self. And so the fear programs that are coming up in this time period are part of the slavery matrix, because the slavery matrix is based off of power and control. Hence the triangular system, where someone's at the top and others are at the bottom. And in the slavery matrix, we have men at the top and women at the bottom. And coming from a Indigenous perspective and a more holistic perspective, the reality is that there is no triangle. That is an illusion. That is a mode of functioning or a way of existing that we've been taught by the culture around us. And even culture, even the word culture, right, is showing us that it's a program, that we've been programmed to believe this. And what happens in this kind of programming and in this kind of society is you get toxic masculine and toxic mothering. So those are kind of the two sides that come out of that system. And toxic mothering means when we coddle or enable sickness and power dynamics and control and promoting hierarchical ways of existing. And when we collapse that, what we have left is a circular way of existing. And in a circular way of existing, we're all important. We're all needed. We're all valid. All of our pathways are valid. All of our roles are valid. Whether you're a male or a female, you're valid. Whether you're young or old, you're valid. whether you're whatever color within the wheel, the medicine wheel. So again, coming from an indigenous perspective, there's a medicine wheel, and in the medicine wheel, which is a circle, you have the red, the yellow, and the black, and the white. And all four are part of the wheel. All four are part of the whole. And no one's above anyone. They're all equal parts of the pie. And that means all four corners of the earth are equal and necessary and part of creative functioning of the whole. And differences in mind and differences in creative abilities and differences in skill bases and differences in ways of seeing and differences in gifts and abilities are all necessary for the whole. They're all necessary, normal parts of the uniquenesses of each human being. And I would have touched a little bit on the fact that, there's 7.8 billion people on the planet, probably more than that now. And there's 7.8 billion ways to be a human. All of us have our own unique way of existing. We all have our own unique path, our own unique computation of who I am. And I have a right to be it, and everyone else has a right to be it. We all have a right to be it, and it's a necessity. We have to be it in order to exist in our highest potentials. And as we collapse this matrix that we've been living in, these old modes of functioning, these old ways of existing, these old mindsets, this hierarchical way of existing, which is not real. It's a false way of existing. It isn't even in alignment with nature. In nature, the masculine and feminine are equal. They're balanced. They both have a role to play. They both are important to our growth and our expansion, and they both have a perspective and roles that are necessary to a species thriving. And so let's see, what else can I say about the power dynamics and this mode of functioning that we're in at this time period, and taking back our power. So what we're going to be mindful of in this time period is what we're fearing. What are we giving our fear away to? And collectively, I oftentimes get collective healings, and in this specific time period, some of the things that we're taking our power back from is the unknown. And so the unknown is the space where we don't know what's coming. We don't know what's ahead of us. And again, if I'm in a power dynamic, a false power dynamic, and I'm giving my power to the unknown, then I'm saying I can't be safe until the unknown stops unknowing. And that ain't going to happen. I can wait until I know what the choice and the answer is, and then have some sense of, oh, thank God, now I know. But I don't have to wait. I can just give myself love and safety even here. I can feel comfortable and safe and regulated even when I don't know what's coming. Because that's an experience I give myself. That medicine is inside of me, and I can access that medicine even here. And right now in our world, we have a lot of wild, crazy things happening. For example, we have wars, and we have tariffs, and we have information coming out about the toxic masculine in regards to the Epstein files, and in regards to the website that many toxic humans have been visiting in regards to taking power from females or children or vulnerables of any kind, boys, even men. And so what is happening in this world, we're being faced with all these things out there that are overstimulating us. And that's another thing we can give our power away to. We can fear overstimulation. And overstimulation presents itself with anxiety. And typically when a human feels anxious, instead of facing the anxiety, and then facing the anxiety oftentimes is going to make us look at what we're fearing. So we would prefer not to face the anxiety and not to face what we're fearing, but instead to distract away from it. And humans tend to use many kinds of distractions, which over time, I've termed those toxic distractions. And the reason why they're toxic distractions is because we need more and more and more of it in order to feel better. And because when we use the toxic distraction, we're bypassing that feeling state that's asking for us to slow down into it. It's asking for us to give it love and safety. I love myself even here. I'm safe even here. Even in a world that seems like it's losing its mind, I love myself even here. I'm safe even here. Even when we see horrifying things happening to people out there, I love myself even here. I'm safe even here. It's more important in times of chaos and crisis and fear, panic, and terror to take back our power, to put the power back into you, to collapsing those power programs, those false illusions of safety, and to say, I'm safe even here. And when we do that, we begin to access our own creativity. And that creativity is going to help us through these times a lot more than, putting your hands up and terrible things, freaking out. The more we freak out, the less we're able to access our creativity. And we can do that, and sometimes we will do that. Sometimes humans freak out. Freaking out is normal to human beings, especially when there's so many things coming out in the external realm that weren't there before, that we didn't see before. They were there before. We just didn't see them before. We didn't know they were happening. But it's really important that we see them, because when we see them, we can alchemize the feeling state of seeing something that looks scary. It's okay, this looks scary. It is scary. That shit is scary. It's okay that it's scary. And I can find regulation and safety and comfort even here. I'm okay. I'm all right. I don't have to wait for it to stop. I don't have to wait for the Epstein files to stop. I don't have to wait for the wars to stop. I don't have to wait for people to stop visiting those sites to stop. I don't have to wait for the tariffs to stop. I don't have to wait for the food prices to go down or the gas prices to go down, which thankfully they are right now. But I don't have to wait for that to give myself love and safety. It's in amongst that chaos that I need to access my own love for myself and my safety. Right now, my necklaces are a chaos, and I'm just going to love myself even there and give myself safety even there. I'm safe even when my necklaces are a chaos, and I can take my power back even there, and I can collapse the program of that, people can't have messy necklaces. They can have that too. It's just another experience. And in reality, that's what begins to come up inside the human being when we love ourselves in these spaces and we take back our power, our ability to walk forward freely, our ability to make choices, is that we begin to realize that this is just another part of a journey. This is just another experience. Humans have all kinds of experiences here. And humans have all kinds of feelings when we have experiences. And the humans haven't gone through an experience quite like this before. which means it's a novel chaos. And what we're being called to do is to recognize it for what it is. It's something that's happening outside of me, and I don't have to control it, and I don't have to give my control away to it. Because when you're suffering by it, when you're in fear, panic, and terror, and you're freaking out, you're literally feeding the chaos. You're creating more chaos. You're feeding the slavery matrix, right? You're feeding the darkness that's trying to keep its control over you. And the more it controls you, and the more you freak out, and the more you think that it has the answers and it has the solutions and it's going to save you, the more power you give to it, thinking that it's going to do that for you. And in reality, that was never going to happen. You are always going to save yourself. And just by slowing down in this moment and loving yourself in this moment, I love myself even here. I'm safe even here. And see, my hands on my heart, I'm reaching into my own heart. You're not alone, Lisa. I'm right here with you. I got you. I got my own back. Literally, I got my own back. I got my own spine. I have me. I'm safe even here. I'm whole even here. I'm going to figure this out. I always figure this out. I'm going to figure this out. Collectively, we're going to figure this out. Collectively, we're going to get creative, right? It's not just all yours, it's all of ours. And we need to relax, and we need to take a deep breath. And we need to drop down into ourselves, and we need to find the medicine from within. And when we begin to do that, we already begin to collapse the old matrix, the old mode of functioning. We begin to save our own selves. We begin to love ourselves through it. And because we have free will, we have choices. I can go through this freaking out, or I can go through this loving myself and soothing myself and taking back my power. And when I take back my power, we begin to come into that circle. So we take ourselves off of the false triangle, and we put ourselves into the circle where we're all important, and we're all necessary, and we're all part of the solution, and we're all going to use creativity, and we're going to use our power of our voice and our power of our choice. That's the other good thing that we access when we begin to calm down and soothe ourselves and take back our power. Now I can say, no, I'm not doing that. I am not taking part in that. Not in my world, not in my existence, not in my reality. And that is called the sacred mother. So the toxic mother coddles, entitles, lets it go, thinking that she wants to create mostly our males, our masculines on the hierarchy. She wants him to be the top dog. She wants him to be violent and violating and controlling. And we don't consciously choose that, but it's part of our programming. It's part of our culture. And the sacred mother, she says no. She holds the space of no. And even if that creates a tantrum in the other will calm down. The other will soothe themselves. It's not your job to fix, save, and heal them. It's your job to stand in your truth and in your power. And if your truth says no, that's a no. No means no. But we haven't been taught that we have a right to a no, specifically the females. We haven't been taught that we have a right to say no. But the sacred mother says no, not here, no more. We're not doing that. We have a right to walk away. We have a right to say no. We have a right to face a different direction and take other steps and go on a journey in another direction and create a new world, create a new form of existing for all of us. So, let's see, is there anything else I can touch on here? I guess I'll mention that the males and females in our society at this time period, like all males have the masculine and feminine inside of them, and all females have the masculine and the feminine inside of them, and all genders have the masculine and feminine inside of them, and that we're all learning to balance that masculine and that feminine within. And the feminine side of the body is the left side of the body, and the masculine side of the body is the right side of the body. And the masculine side of the body, the right side of the body, is its role is decision making. It's taking action. And the feminine side of the body, or the left side of the body, its role is to love us even here. Its role is to give compassion. And its role is to churn creativity and to support. So the feminine side supports the masculine side to take action. And the feminine side supports the masculine side to take loving action. And loving action is slowing down. That's the feminine. The feminine is slowing down. Slow down. The masculine's going really fast. The masculine likes to produce, take action, get it done. And you can see that's the majority of the slavery matrix. That's part of what the slavery matrix is built off. You got to produce, you got to make more money, more stuff, more power, more control, right? And literally that's why, you see them going to war. Why are they going to war? They want more oil, more gold, more batteries and battery power. It's about more. Whereas the feminine's around, whoa, slow down. And then it's about contemplating, do we actually need more, or do we need to get creative? And then it starts to churn out some creativity, and it says, maybe we don't need more. Maybe we just need to do it in a different way. Maybe we can get creative. Maybe there's another way. And when we hold that space, which is also called the unknown, that's the void. That's the feminine. The feminine is the void. It's the space of infinite potential. It's the womb. Anything can be created in the womb, right? So when we're able to hold that space, we can come up with choices we didn't even think about. But if we're in the masculine, go, produce more, dominate, control, be at the top. You got to be at the top of the triangle, stand on other people to get there, put people in their place, take their power, right? That's the toxic masculine. And in reality, the sacred masculine says, feminine, what do you think we should do here? What are our options? And then the feminine says, I support us taking action in this way. I support us taking action in creating free energy, right? I support us taking action on finding a solution for dumps, right? I support us taking action on, healthy farming, things like that. And then the masculine says, okay, let's do this. And then it takes the action. And that's balanced action. That's us being in balance within. But we have to learn to do that within in order to do that in this external realm. And that's why all of us play a role. All of us have an importance. And all of us need to learn to balance the feminine and the masculine. And that's a job for all of us here. And so when we're giving away our power, that is a toxic masculine. It's what we're not doing is slowing down and saying, it's okay that I'm scared, and I can still make my choices. Even when I'm scared, I can still make my choices. Even when I'm scared, I can still love myself into wholeness. Even when I'm scared, I'm safe even when I'm scared. And it's okay to be scared. Humans are scared sometimes. And so basically that space of the unknown oftentimes makes humans scared. And it's okay. It's okay that we don't know what's coming. We're safe even there. We're whole even there. We're going to figure it out. So I just touched on so many different aspects that I was, just followed the thread. But I will put out videos where I talk about some of these things more in depth and clear some of these programs and patterns of the past, which will just make it easier for us. So once we understand, it starts to get easier. And what I find about a lot of this information is that our souls already know the truth. So when we hear this information, we're like, yeah, of course, like some part of me already knew this. Yeah, your soul actually already knows it, but the human doesn't. And the human's been programmed to not listen to it and to just play out that quick, go, production, make a choice right now, just make any choice, just do it, right? And that's bypassing the feminine. That's bypassing the slowing down and the compassion and the many choices and the creativity. And we have to be able to access that to be able to align with our truth and to make good choices into the future. And so I'm just going to start by clearing all of that. I'm going to do a quick release, although releases are never really quick, but I'm going to do a release, which again it's like a prayer system. It's where I'm going to talk to the God source or the universe or the creator, the living being that we're inside of, and we're going to acknowledge all of this programming, and then we're going to ask to have it cleared. And the God source wants it cleared because it gets us into alignment. It gets us into the natural way of existing. It gets us into that circular way of existing, that feminine mode of functioning. So a triangle is a masculine mode of functioning and the circle is a feminine mode of functioning. It's where we're all one, we're all whole, which comes from the sacred mother, because the sacred mother is the mother of all. She's the mother of the males and the females. And she wants us all to equally do well. And she wants us all to be in alignment. And she wants us all to be listening to our truths. She wants us all to be safe and loved and making choices from our center of selves, where we become the most powerful because we're able to move forward freely. We're able to take our own actions. We're able to follow our own internal guided pathways and follow our own purposes and come together collectively to do beautiful things. So, Source God Mother, I acknowledge and accept everything that we've been speaking of so far today, starting with this idea of fear, and that fear is a program. It's a toxic power program where we're giving our power to something else, and then we're fearing that thing because we're in weakness. It's above us. It's in the power position, and that's a false mode of functioning. It's not even real. It's an actual illusion. And when we begin to recognize that as the illusion that it is, we begin to collapse that mode of functioning from our mind, body, spirits, and souls. We begin to collapse it from our modes of functioning and our ways of existing, recognizing that I don't have to fear anything. I can be scared and I can still be safe. I can be scared and I can still love myself and I can still take action and I can still move forward freely. I don't have to wait for that thing to stop. I don't have to wait for the spider to not be there or for the snake to not be there or for the war to stop or for, the chaos in the external realm to stop or for the unknown to stop or for gas prices to drop. Or what we're fearing is money and not having money, lack of money. And that's a decent thing to be scared about because you don't know what actions you're going to take if you don't have that. But I love myself even here. I'm whole even here, and I can collapse those power programs as well. Those are old power programs of an old mode of functioning of the slavery matrix, where they wanted us to be in false power dynamics. And no one's happy in a false power dynamic. The one at the top isn't happy, and the one at the bottom isn't happy. The slave isn't happy, and the slaver isn't happy, and neither are free. And we choose freedom, and we choose to clear those old modes of functioning and those old ways of existing and those internal dynamics between our masculine and feminine, and those external dynamics between the males and the females, and between the layers of that false triangle of the toxic patriarchy. We clear those programs, those modes of functioning, those ways of existing, those false power programs, those ways of perceiving, those ways of choosing, frozen pain spaces, the overwhelm, the overstimulation, the anxiety programs, and we clear them from our mind, body, spirits, and souls. We no longer need to function in that old way. We choose to slow down and access the sacred feminine. We choose to access our own love of ourselves. We choose to access our ability to find safety within, and that we don't have to wait for it. We can give it to ourselves right now, today, in this moment. And I choose to do so. And I clear, cleanse, and heal those programs, those modes of functioning, those ways of existing, those mindsets, those wound spaces, so that the masculine and the feminine are actually really interesting ways to look at wounds. So if you have a wound on the right side of your body, the masculine side of your body, oftentimes that's going to be about what action aren't you taking, or what action are you afraid to take, or what action are you not supporting yourself to take. It usually has something to do with action, versus wounds on the left side of the body or on the feminine part of the body. It's usually, where aren't you loving yourself? Where aren't you feeling safe? What do you need to love? Including the wounds themselves. The body is there's also another part where the masculine is the head and the body is the feminine. And so the brain is the masculine and the stomach brain is the feminine. But I'll get into that into future videos. And all we need to know is that we can clear that old programming and that old mode of functioning and that old way of existing from our mind, body, spirits, and souls, past the DNA and RNA and into the God space of first creation. And Source God Mother, because we are talking about wound spaces in the body, physical pain spaces in the body, if we can collapse some of these wounds out of the body at this time, as we receive this information, and as we slow down enough to love our bodies, to send love and safety into these parts of the body. I hear you, body. I know there's something going on there. I'm willing to figure it out. Please heal this part of my body. Please bring love and safety into this part of the body, and know that I'm going to figure this out. But that is a good point. We do tend to have these power programs in regards to our body, false power programs. We fear pain. We fear pain spaces. We fear wounds, and that actually prevents us from taking action or loving ourselves in that wound space, or freeing the wound space. And so, Source God Mother, we also clear that power program from our mind, body, spirits, and souls. We clear it past the DNA and RNA and into the God space of first creation. We clear all drama, karma, trauma, pull out the dharma, neutralize, purify, clear, cleanse, and heal from the cellular, energetic, and magnetic structures, and from the subconscious, unconscious, and conscious minds, pulling all of that through to oneness, to wholeness, to peace, to truth, to love. We collapse the old DNA and RNA back to dust, and we initiate the new DNA and RNA, and we reconfigure that DNA and RNA for each unique blueprint, for each unique self, for each unique soul, for each unique body. We welcome those helper frequencies and those helper beings into these spaces to continue to love us in these spaces, help us and assist us, help us to access these places that we're awakening in this time period, and help us to heal the old modes of functioning, and help us to expand out into these novel spaces, and help us to utilize them as we move forward into the future. There's waves happening as we do this release, so the lake is helping us clear. I love that. So we release through the children and up through the ancestral webs, past lifetimes in their webs, and for the collective universal who are open to it at this time, including all planetary systems and on all sides of the veil, including this universe and the multiverses. We quantum forgive that this happens on the earth plane of existence. We quantum forgive that we gave our power away in these ways, that we took part in these power programs that aren't even real, that we bypassed loving ourselves into wholeness, that we bypassed regulating our own selves and accessing our own internal medicine, and that we were waiting for some savior in the external realm that never came, and it made us feel panic, fear, terror our whole lives. And we don't have to feel that anymore. We quantum forgive the wound spaces in the body. We quantum forgive the toxic patriarchy. We quantum forgive the slavery matrix. We quantum forgive getting stuck in it, not knowing any different or any better. We quantum forgive the masculine and the feminine, and the toxic mother and the toxic masculine, so that we can awaken the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine, and begin to live from that wholeness and from that sacred mother position who loves all equally. And we clear, cleanse, purify, purify, purify back to the God Source origins, welcoming those healed helpers, those beings of light, those doctors, healers, and nurses in all realms of existence to continue to purify and alchemize these spaces and drop us into those original blueprints, those original codes, and to continue these healings until completed. And please help me to remember, so thank you to the helper beings and helper frequencies that are always here with me, helping me, guiding me, loving me. So your helper beings, that being your angels, your ancestors, your elementals, the beings of light that are always with us. Remember, your body has your soul. That you're embedded in the God Source. You're a part of it. You're embedded in nature. You're a part of nature. You're never alone. You're exactly where you're meant to be. You're exactly, you're being held in all spaces. We're literally like being hugged by nature at all points in time, and you're being hugged by your soul. Your soul hugs your human body, and it's saying, good job, you're doing the best you can. You're in times of massive change. You're in times of chaos. Chaos comes before the change, and we're in the times of the chaos. And we don't want to repeat the patterns of the old. We want to slow down. We want to love ourselves even here. We want to find safety even here, so that we can begin to find those creative choices, so that we begin to create a new future. We don't have to do it the old way. There's another way. There's probably millions of other ways, and there's some of us are already starting to create those new ways. And so it's not as scary as it seems. And it's okay that you're scared, or that you're feeling scariness in this time period. And you can love yourself even here. You're safe even here. It's normal for humans to feel scared. That's okay. It's all right. You deserve love even here. You need more love even here. In spaces where we feel fear, panic, and terror, the spaces we need more love. When we feel anxiety and we feel overwhelmed, we need more love. We need our internal medicine. We need that infinite love that's available inside of us. We need to slow down and grab our heart and have our heart even here. I love myself even here. And we give so much gratitude to those helper beings that are here with us, helping us, guiding us, nudging us, holding loving space for us, giving us this information, reminding us of what we need to know, helping us to open up the creative options in front of us. Thank you. We appreciate you. And we clear, cleanse, and heal all of that now through all quantum fields, and we're opening to receive for best and the highest well-being. With love and gratitude, I choose this. So I choose this, and breathe. And Source Godmother, please immediately evolute our systems for best and highest well-being of the systems within us and the systems around us. And as you immediately evolute our systems, do the same for our purification space. That's as far out as our heart goes. Please immediately evolute everybody's systems within that heart space. Anybody who's open to it, immediately evolute their systems for best and highest well-being of the systems within them and the systems around them, including those frequencies of their feet, so that as they ground to their feet, they get whatever frequencies they need, whatever is best and highest well for their own unique body and for their own unique self. And remembering that when we ground ourselves to our feet, to our insides of our feet, ground me to my feet is all you need to say to ground to your feet. Your feet is connected to the rest of your body, and that begins to give you the frequencies, the healing codes, the love that you need specifically for your own self. So when you're in panic, fear, terror, or when you're in overwhelm, ground me to my feet. It'll already begin to slow you down. It'll trigger that vagus nerve, and that vagus nerve is the feminine nerve. It brings calm and peace and comfort to the human body. And in times when there's so much going on, we really need to be triggering that vagus nerve. And you can look that up online. There's lots of ways to trigger a vagus nerve, like yawning triggers the vagus nerve, cold water on the face, cold water on the hands. Lots of practices can trigger that vagus nerve, and those are good practices. Even just asking your body to trigger your vagus nerve. I do that all the time. Body, please trigger my vagus nerve now, and you'll feel this rush of relief, rush of comfort, of companionship, because that's you companioning your own self by slowing down enough just to ask. And so Source God Mother, please also root us into this universe and into the multiverses, so that we're exchanging that life force frequency and the healing codes, knowledge, and wisdom with nature, of which we're a part. And we clear, cleanse, and heal all of that now through all quantum fields, and we're opening to receive for best and the highest well-being. With love and gratitude, we choose this. So again, I choose this, and breathe. And if you're feeling lightheaded or dizzy, just asking to root into your feet, ground me to my feet. And just noticing, usually people feel quite light. Sometimes they feel they have to go to the washroom, they have to go pee, and that's normal. Some people yawn. Some people get really fatigued after we do information and pull through a release. That's just the quantum healing and the body trying to heal itself. And that's all normal. That's normal. And you're just going to want to drink water, relax, take it easy. Usually people find after they have a nap or a sleep, they start feeling a lot better. And so it better getting it out than in. And the healing process isn't simple or easy, but it is important and necessary. And it's like a cup of debris. Each bit of debris you get out, less debris left in the cup. And it's worth it. It's worth it. You're worth it. You're worth clearing your cup of debris out. You're worth facing your wound spaces. You're worth facing the difficult feelings. You're worth finding your own answers and accessing your own truth. And you're worth having a say in this world, and speaking your voice, and retaining your own power for your own freedom to move forward freely. And you're worth finding freedom. And so I'm going to love you and leave you, because I'm seeing we're at the hour mark, and I'm just going to wish you all so much love and peace, and practice slowing down. Practice, I love myself even here. I'm safe even here. Pay attention to how your body feels when you use those codes, right? Pay attention that if you have something you're fearing, to say, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I collapse that program. I'm giving my power to something else. That's crazy. Why am I doing this? I don't have to do this. I can take my power back right now. I can love myself even here. It's okay that that thing scares me, but I don't have to give my power away to it. I don't have to fear it. Fear it means you're part of a power program, and I don't want to do that. I choose not to do that. And I choose to exercise my sacred feminine, and to choose my compassion and my love. And I choose to look at creativity. and practice it. Let me know, how does this go? What did you think of this information? What do you want to hear more about? How did the healing go? How did you feel when we did the healing? And yeah, I'm interested to hear, and I'm glad to be able to share in this way. And lots of love to you, and we will talk to you next time. Bye. The lake's saying bye too. I can hear the waves. Bye from the lake.